I have 2 points. I could talk about education all day. I'm a teacher, so you guys hit the nail on the head with the education piece. But some things that I haven't heard: teach economic responsibility. Okay,
Hmm.
we're about the flex right now, and the flex is not it. It don't matter if you got a Louis bag, but you paying rent, or you barely making your car note. So just learning how to be economically responsible, build up credit, build up wealth, home ownership. That's one thing. The other thing I would say is be involved in politics, whether you're running or voting, knowing who your local people are, who's your local council person, who's on your school board, who's making decisions for your children's learning. Just get involved, learn. You don't have to be I'm telling you, I've been involved in politics. I'm meeting people. They're not the brightest. These are not the sharpest pencils in the pencil case. They're just there doing things. So you don't, I think people have this image or this perception of who politicians are. These are regular people. Some of these people just are plain old dumb, to be honest. um, but I'm just saying, you don't have to have all these special talents. You just need to have the passion and the vision for what you want to see done. And we need to be in those spaces. We need to be a part of those decision making bodies. So please, please, please be more active. So I'm thinking if we just, as a community, get our money together, and stop flexing for the gram and just really start building some for real wealth for ourselves,
Right.
for our children, get some life insurance so we're not doing GoFundMe to bury you. Okay. We need to make sure that those things are normalized. We got to normalize the things that build our community instead of normalizing the things that just makes us look pretty for a few seconds on an Instagram reel. Um, if we do those two things, that could start. That can be the beginning of rebuilding
So
our
we have to
community.
work instead of
And even
twerk.
what
That's what you're trying to tell us?
we got to work, we
Are
got
you
to
saying that we
twerk.
have to work instead of twerk? Is that what you're trying to
The
say?
nerve.
We can do both things. We're
Oh my
phenomenal
goodness.
people, right?
We gotta work.
You know
Working
what?
and
Hell,
twerking
Politics
at the
is,
same time.
we don't stop being so committed to one party. Go for the party that is for you, right? I ran
yeah.
a Democrat, but the Democrats supported me. It was to my advantage. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. But go where the advantage is because that's politics. That is the definition of politics. Who gets what? So
Right.
if the Democrats aren't doing it for us, you need to explore other options. Look at where your values lies. There are so many Christian black people who off the rip think they're Democrat, but if you look at their values, you're actually more, I think, like someone said, on the conservative Republican side, right? If
Yeah.
you are a black Christian, you're probably not really keen on
Hello.
LGBTQIA and all of that.
You
So
hit all the letters. Check you out. Okay.
all the letters, but I'm a teacher. I got to know all the things and the pronouns. But I mean, we really got to look at what these people are saying, what they stand for, and see which ones talk to who you are. We don't have to. We're not a monolith. We don't have to be a Democrat because all the black people are Democrats. We can be effective being in all the spaces, doing all the things.
Yeah.
1,000%. And I want to piggyback on what you said, Vina, because that goes back to that local politics, and you're so right. You're so right. I've never been someone who was really deeply into local politics, but like I've been trying to learn over the past few years, and you're so right. What I realized when you come to local politics in particular, they are just regular everyday people. But what happens is that the people who are in local politics who care about the community, it really is about helping the community run, whether it's the mayor, and all the other positions from tax assessor to all the other small positions within municipalities. It's that's a big part of it because you do have many communities that the predominantly black communities, the people who are in charge sometimes are not black, and in some
I,
cases they are black, but I think it's important because if we're going to build communities, everything everybody said is important. It's also important to understand how your communities run, who's running your actual community, the tax dollars that are spent, because Unless you're going to get up right now and go buy some piece of land and start uh, a new community, a new village or city, then that's one thing. But if you're talking about a city that's already incorporated and existing, it is important to understand who's in power. And like you said, Vina, I think it's important for us to understand local politics as well, because if we're going to have those communities, that's the only way they're going to be able to be run effectively.
Hmm.
And when you look at other communities, non-black communities, people are aware of how their communities ran. They are aware of it. They do show up at monthly board meetings, and that's the way that you control your community. Whether it's going good or bad is up to is subject to your awareness. So I think that's a very important thing and a big part of it. Something that I've learned, like I said, and something I'll be instilling in my kids as well as they get older, because you can't be oblivious to where you live. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? It's just something that I feel like is also one of the issues within our culture, in a broader scale, as far as black people, kind of oblivious to what we live. And then again, when it comes time for the national election, then that's where everybody kind of gets up and throws up their set. But
Right.
there's so much, and maybe to an extent there's an aware of state, but I don't even think people are really quite aware of their governor or what their governors are doing. It's really just the hoopla and the party of when it comes to the national election, and that's fine. But there's so much going on under that, that ties back to this question of community that we are not aware of. So I think that I can't say that enough, to understand that, you have communities where small percentages voted when it comes to the local, and I
Bro,
used
it's
to hear
it's
that I
so
used to hear it
true.
all the time. Go ahead, B.
It, I was gonna say it's so true because if you go when you go vote, let's say for example, you look at the ballot and you look at the judges on the ballot, and nobody knows who the judges are. Nobody's done the knowledge to see who these people are, what they stand for. But we will complain because our cousin got locked up. We won't even let the judge name that locked them up. We just don't. We won't do the knowledge to know any of these people that are on these ballots, and we just literally just So yeah, it's what you just said is so important. Just
I'm
get
completely
into
guilty of
what's
that.
happening in your own neighborhood because
Start
Absolutely.
holding
it's
these people accountable for
Yeah.
yes,
what's
yes.
actually
And
happening and stop the
and then they
complacency.
might go in there and start guessing and put the same person back in on the seat, and
Well,
it's
Right.
insane.
let's give B Rock a
Yeah.
shout out for that shirt. All right, that's a
Oh,
dope
thank you,
shirt
thank you,
right
thank you.
there. Yeah, let's give
I
him a shout
appreciate
out
that.
for that shirt
Wait, put that closer to the
Well,
camera. I can't
because
see it.
that's talk about a
oh, that's
classic. What?
Oh,
Show
oh, for
enough.
sure. Show enough.
yeah. I had to.
Y'all
Oh
Yizzle, go
yeah.
ahead, spit your game, y'all Yizzle.
Man, I really would like to see a lot of the complacency come to an end and people just sitting back and just saying, oh, okay, well, I've got enough. Or I'm making it, so that's okay. I'm not going to worry about anything else. And I think I, I've been guilty of it as well. We get so caught up in our own lives and everything that we've got to struggle with that we don't pay enough attention to local government. We rely on people that we don't know. We don't know their backgrounds. We don't know what they're really doing with our tax dollars. We don't know what their agendas are. And the people that are really benefiting are the ones that are showing up to those meetings, who are making friends with these local politicians, and they're the ones that are getting their businesses ahead of ours because we're not taking the time to go and network and meet these people and hold these people accountable and try to make them understand what we need in our community. So they're kind of just left to their own devices, off doing their own thing, and we're just like, oh, we're okay because we've got enough. As long as I've got enough to pay my bills, I'm cool. But I think as a community, I think going forward, we have just got to stop being so complacent and just it's so apathetic to things. We just let stuff go, or we just assume and stop being so easily romanced by these politicians or these popular figures and people. And I know y'all love this term, people who love to
Here we go.
perpetuate different ideas in urban popular culture.
There it
Yes.
is.
There it
We
is.
almost made it
I
through the
knew it was
whole
gonna start
episode.
sooner or later.
We almost made it through.
You
Almost
got to
made
get
it
it.
through the whole
You need to
episode
get a.
without
Damn
using
You got
close.
to. You
that
got to get a
term.
shirt. We almost
Yes.
made it to the end without hearing urban popular culture.
Urban pop culture.
But y'all know I'm right. We not stop being romanced by urban pop culture and these false ideas that are perpetuated that make us think that certain people and certain groups are, oh, they're so great or they're so for black people. No, they're really not. They're saying the right things that sound good, but ultimately they are for their own agenda. They're not
Yeah.
for furthering our community. Just
Yeah.
because they gave a good speech on a podium and said some words about how, I love black people. And yes, we definitely need to get more African Americans in office.
Yeah.
But
Trump
but
loves
but
blacks.
behind the scenes, huh?
I said Trump loves the blacks.
It's not it's
The blacks.
But what is that he said some years ago? Oh, basically you can't trust them with the money though. You that's why he wouldn't
Oh,
put no
let's
black
not go
people.
there.
He didn't want to put no black people in charge of
No.
the money in his casinos. He put the Jews there because he said the Jews were better with the money than the blacks. You can't trust the blacks with the money. Those, he said that. It was
Well,
recorded.
you know what? We debated this before, and I agree with you. I think we have a duty though. At the end of the day, we have a duty to, in my opinion, to detangle our thoughts. We have
Yes,
we have a duty to detangle our thoughts and organize our thoughts. We have
absolutely.
we have very mangled, and I'm not mad at it. I get it. We just have very mangled thoughts as far as what to do with our community in a mixture. Like, again, this is my opinion. We have a duty to detangle what was done in the past and what we want to do in the future. I don't
Get
think if we don't
organized.
start to organize our thoughts and the way we see stuff, then again, I don't think things will change. Because again, I always go back to what are you telling your kids? Me personally, I can't give my kids a total mangle of thoughts. They're not going to get it. All they're gonna do is grow up and regurgitate the same shit. And I don't want to curse, but me personally, that's what I'm tired of seeing. I don't want my kids to 20 years from now regurgitate the same talking points. And they won't change their talking points or their mentality unless we start to detangle ours and give them some clarity as far as
all
what
right.
to do moving
So
forward.
here's the
That's what I
challenge.
think.
So here's the challenge to you.
Hmm.
Let's
Yes,
start
sir.
it tonight while we are
Yes.
having this very crucial conversation. Let's go ahead because you asked the questions. Now let's, as we get ready to sign off, talk about organizing our things. Let's talk about the steps, the solutions we're talking about before we sign off. Because
Yes.
we've been talking, we have some great ideas. So now the question
I
is,
agree.
what's step one? What should step one be? What should step two be? What should step three be? Going in the direction what we say we want, and what we want for the end results. Because we don't want to
Absolutely.
continue. We don't want to leave this podcast with the same question that we started out with. We want to leave with some answers
Hmm.
to some of these questions. So
Yeah.
let's do what you said. Let's organize some of these things as we got so many, and let's go ahead and put it now. Boom, here, because we got to start
Okay.
somewhere. So let's come to an
I
agreement of
agree.
what number one's going to be. If number one is going to be community and what that means, and let's go from there. And then we have to
Okay.
understand
Communication.
what those things, what that means, and what we have to accomplish here. And then, much like if people are familiar with Dr. Claude Anderson, he's talked about so many times the building blocks and the steps that we need. It always starts with
Right.
economics. Economics is the
Absolutely.
foundation. That's what funds everything. So,
Well, Aaron,
yes,
Ian, I think that step one has got to be communication. We got to change the narrative.
Yeah.
We have to
Right there.
do some of we have a lot of work to do psychologically to debrief our generations from the indoctrination of stagnation, complacency, apathy, and start
Indifference.
changing the narrative. We've got to communicate. We got to start communicating differently. We got to
What
start
does that mean? What does that mean?
putting
Put
out
that.
different
Give me
messages.
what you mean by that. Yeah.
Well,
What
What
does
does
that
that mean?
mean?
let me
What does that
piggyback
mean?
off of
That
that.
means that we need to start telling. We need communications within our social media, within our television, within our whatever it is that says this. We are, as a people, we are able to change our circumstances and our situations by first believing that we can. Secondly, not only do we need to believe that we can do it, we need to understand why it's beneficial for us to do it. That is extraordinarily
Well,
important.
what it sounds like you're
Well,
saying,
And
we
so,
really
well,
got to
let
start with our mindset. That's what it
yeah,
sounds like. I mean,
absolutely.
is anybody else
The only
hearing?
way
Is
we're going to
anybody
change
else
our
hearing
mind,
what I heard? That's what it sounds like. Not necessarily
that's
communication per se,
yeah.
but with our mindset.
right.
Well, we're not going to change our mindset without changing the way we
Well,
communicate
well,
with
the
one
saying
another.
is actually
And
watch our thoughts as they become our words. So when we can't communicate certain ways without first changing how we think about in which way, in order for us to communicate the way we should.
it's a
Right.
cycle. It's a cycle. We
Well,
won't change the way we think until we change the way we
So
where
communicate.
what's
that
what's
starts
the